So who's going to get automatic promotion from League One? Cardiff City and Lincoln City have put themselves in fantastic positions on 69 and 68 points respectively, with all the other teams having at least a 10-figure points difference between those sides, which is a really wonderful position to be in going into the last weekend of February. But there's still a quarter of the season to go. There's still time for things to change. Will there be any nerves from Lincoln City, who have rarely been in this kind of position before, certainly not at this level? And what about Cardiff City off the back of that defensive capitulation at Plymouth Argyle? So are there some signs of vulnerability in the top two for any teams below, like Bradford, Bolton or Stockport, to exploit? Or do Cardiff and Lincoln have a relatively comfortable stretch moving into the home straight? That's what we're here to discuss on this League One podcast. So if you like what we do here on EFL Debate, you can do us a massive favour by getting subscribed to us on Spotify and YouTube. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, there is a membership option where for £3 a month, you can get my exclusive conversations about broad-ranging Football League topics with the excellent Simon Lillibury. So go and check that offer out. Delighted to be joined by one of my co-hosts for the evening, which is Colin Yates of the Fan Zone podcast. Colin, before I bring in our first guest of the evening, I'm just wondering what your take is as a Bolton Wanderers fan on the automatic promotion race and how you feel things have unfolded.
First of all, thanks very much for having me on as ever, Gab. Appreciate that. Where to start? My feelings towards the automatic promotion situation. I think, like many Bolton fans, we're very much glass half full in terms of the squad that we have at our disposal. And often, as far as kind of like hunting down a top two position, we would ordinarily be quite optimistic. But I think the majority of Bolton fans, and of course I can't speak for every single one of them, but the general consensus and the feel that I get within the fan base is that we've all pretty much given up hope of closing down them top two spots. Despite the fact, like you've rightly said, you know, there's still a quarter of a season to go. But yeah, I just think we've been a little bit consistently inconsistent as far as draws are concerned. We've drawn far too many games, Gavin. And obviously, the last three results is a clear indicator of that. And it hasn't just been the last three results against obviously Blackpool, Reading, and of course prior to that Lincoln. We've been drawing too many games throughout the whole season. So that's ultimately, despite the fact that we dominate teams and dominate games in this league, we see ourselves sat 10 points behind the automatic spots.
Yeah, I mean, one point that I would make is that you've got to go to Cardiff in April. And if you can gain some points on them, only a few points between now and that fixture on the 11th, is there a bit of room to make things interesting in the last few games, do you think, if you can put a bit of a run together?
I mean, you never know, do you? And at the end of the day, I always feel that you're always better being the team chasing than the ones being chased.
Not when the gap's 10 points.
But exactly, and that's what I was just going to get to caveat that slightly. Not when the gap's 10 points. It will obviously need a rather monumental collapse from either Cardiff or Lincoln. I mean, I stupidly tweeted prior to the Blackpool game that obviously Cardiff kicked off earlier than us the weekends, and obviously they got a bit of a drubbing against Plymouth, and I kind of said that, and bear in mind this was before we played Blackpool, obviously, that that could be a bit of a change because it's a Cardiff are a young side, and when you get hammered like that, it can knock you sideways a little bit, with the hope that an expectation that we would beat Blackpool at 3:00, which we didn't, and we drew. So I quickly backtracked on that comment, but there we are.
Absolutely. Joe, before I bring in Si, we'll talk about the big picture of the automatic promotion race. And before we get into individual teams, we'll bring in Jake Tong.
Oh, God, here he is.
How are we, gents?
Good, yeah. I enjoyed myself before you joined.
Yeah, I was listening. I was listening to you, Cole. Don't worry, Petal. I was listening to you. I was enjoying it.
Jake, just before we bring in our first guest of the evening, what's your stance on the automatic promotion race in terms of the possibilities Bradford, Stockport and Bolton have in terms of catching Cardiff City and yourselves, Lincoln City? Are we looking at sort of fixtures between teams that try and find an angle where, for instance, Bolton might be able to catch Cardiff because they've still got them to play and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I can imagine being a fan of one of the three teams, looking up and going, and just seeing the results coming every week. Cardiff are what? Before the weekend, obviously, we're on a massive unbeaten run. Lincoln are currently 16 unbeaten, and we've won 12 of those. I can imagine, especially when they drop points like Bolton have in recent weeks, where they go to look at the results and they go, oh, God, Lincoln have won again, and it feels like that gap's growing a little bit. And obviously, I know that that's the case with some Bolton fans that Cole speaks to quite closely, aka Mr. McQuaid. But yeah, I think it must be a little bit disappointing, but then also like Cole tells me every single time we try and talk about it, like, there is a long way to go. Like, they've got 12 games.
I can only say that for so long, though, Jake. To be honest,
yeah, absolutely.
By,
and what in terms of if we're just sticking on Bolton, Gab, because I went and watched Stockport on Tuesday night, and I thought that was them. I thought that's their chances done. I thought if that's what they're playing at, like they did on Tuesday, admittedly it was a poor night for them. I just thought if Stockport, if that's their level, they're going to get.
They needed you up top, really, Jake.
Well, I did score a bit of a screamer, didn't I? Really?
Yeah, right. Yeah, got to admit,
how many did Carl Whitten score?
What he's not showing you on that video that he shared on social media is the two misses he did before that. He edited that
the
circumstances.
They moved me back 10 yards from the little kids, and then they put an extra keeper in goal. It was outrageous from Burton Appleby. Because that first one was going right in the top stanchion, mate. Let me tell you. Yeah, I don't know. Certainly with Bolton, it feels like if they're going to make a move, it's got to be now, because the 10 points, Lincoln have got a game in hand. Their next 6, Cole, forgive me if I'm mistaken, are very winnable games. All of them on paper, of which football is not played, but there's a lot of it behind you, Gab, in book form, obviously. And you look at our next couple of games, certainly as we've got, I think we've got Cardiff to play. We play Huddersfield. We go away to Exeter, which I think Bolton do at the weekend, which is a really difficult game. It's not one on paper that you might, I think they've lost twice since October at Exeter at home. So it's going to be a tough game for both of us to go into.
They've lost once since the turn of the year, I think.
They lost to Rotherham 4-0, didn't they? But apart from that, they've been pretty good at home. So. And I also think we go to Huddersfield. So they will be looking at that thinking there is a chance that Lincoln might drop points. And I completely get your rationale of, Lincoln have got, they've not been in this position before and it might be difficult for them. The nerves might kick in, whatever. My counter argument from a Lincoln point of view is we've got players that have been there and done it before. Tendai, Sonny, Adam Reach. Even Conor McGrandles has been at the top end of this league for Lincoln City before. So I don't think it's anything necessarily new. So, but yeah, I can just imagine it's quite deflating for the other teams. Just looking at how good Lincoln and Cardiff have been over the last sort of 2.5 months. But even though it's 10 points, Gab, it's not done. Like I will say this till the cows come home. It is not done until Bolton can't catch us. It's not done until Stockport can't catch us, and it's not done until Bradford can't catch us. So
Yeah, just touching on our next few fixtures. We've got Exeter, obviously, on Saturday, like you touched upon already, Jake. We've got Wycombe at home on the Saturday after that. Saturday after that, we've got Rotherham away. Tuesday after that, we've got Doncaster at home, Port Vale on the Saturday after that away. And then we end that little run of fixtures with a home game against Stevenage. So you're absolutely right. Like
favourable run of form, Cole. I mean,
favourable run of fixtures. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
that's where they've got to make the move, Bolton. I think because their last 5 or 6, as Cole will tell you what, you're playing pretty much every.
Bolton need to win at least.
I just add to that. I'll be honest with you. My only concern is yeah, you're absolutely right. On paper, that is a decent run of fixtures. I think we need a comprehensive win from somewhere pretty soon, like a 3 or 4-0 to really give us that kind of kick on. But we've actually been better against the the better teams this season, and certainly under Shuey as a whole under his tenure. So I'm not overly worried about the last few games of the season, to be honest with you, because I just think that we've got enough against any team. We've actually struggled more against the so-called lesser teams in this league this season than the bigger ones. So we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have it over by the time you play the good teams, then, Cole, shall we? We'll call it quits then.
Yeah, well, possibly, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think we need a comprehensive, like 3-4, 5-0 win from somewhere in the next couple of games, and then if that happens, then we might be having a slightly different conversation.
Goal difference is the point that I would then throw at you. I will throw it. I assume you've got Russ coming on from the Scarpa War for Stockport. That's the one I will throw at all the teams chasing. Lincoln and I think Lincoln have got the best defence in the league, conceding only 31 goals. And we've scored 50 odd. Bolton we've scored 14 more goals than Bolton. That's clearly the issue. The goal difference for me, it adds another point on because Bolton have got to win, but they've got to win handsomely if they're going to try and close that gap.
Well, hold that thought on Bolton Wanderers because we will come back to the Trotters and how they can find the consistency they need. Because our first guest waiting is Simon from the Cardiff City World website and YouTube channel. Si, thanks so much for joining us. How comfortable or otherwise do you feel after that 5-2 loss at Plymouth Argyle, but still being 11 points clear of the rest?
Look, it was a bad day. Defensively, it was like shocking. But my kind of overall feeling is every time we've had a bit of a knockback, whether it was obviously from the Lincoln game to last Saturday, we went on unbeaten run, and we've done that every time we've had a bad result. So I'm not particularly worried about that. But as you said, as you know, I'm a massive fan of the manager, and I've been really impressed with everything he's done. Yeah, I think he got it wrong on Saturday. We had said in the preview that Plymouth are going to be physical and they're going to get it up into the foot channels quickly. Yeah. We need Ryan Wintle and Alex Robertson, and you need a bit of physicality, and you probably needed Will Fish in defence. And he went with Alex Robertson as a single pivot with David Turnbull, who doesn't really cover a lot of ground. And Will Fish wasn't in the squad.
I tell you what, you look so susceptible from balls.
And we just looked so open. It probably helped that the ref was a Lincoln man as well, wasn't it? But no, look, Plymouth deserved to win. At the end of the day, we were terrible, but it doesn't worry me too much. Just on the Bolton thing that you guys were just talking about, though, the other aspect of it is if Cardiff and Lincoln win 6 of their last 12 or whatever it is, Bolton almost have to win, I think it's 11 of their 12 games to be able to catch, or certainly Cardiff. I'm not 100%. Well, it probably is Lincoln as well because there's only a couple of points between us. So it does become difficult because I said at Christmas I thought Lincoln would fade away a little bit. And you got to be fair to them. I think they've been great. And I think they've just carried on, just chasing us. Because it's funny, you were saying about the chasing pack, kind of looking at the results and seeing us and Lincoln kind of, they've won again or whatever. But it's been a bit like that for Cardiff as well, because you get a result and you're thinking, right, hopefully Lincoln have dropped some points. And they haven't. And you're just like, for God's sake, will they just go away? But it is what it is. Like I'm enjoying it. I just I like it. I think the other thing which Brian Barry Murphy's done differently in the last couple of games is our starting 11 has been a lot older. He's kind of gone to like Callum Chambers and Gabe Osho, and a few others like Wintle and not so much Wintle Saturday, but like it's been a lot older than what it was at the start of the season when we went on that sort of run without conceding from open play. So I'll be interested what the starting 11 is on Saturday against Doncaster. Because obviously,
pause on that one, Si. Do you think Brian Barry Murphy's obviously rotated well over the course of the season, and I think that served you well, that policy. But do you think as we move into the run-in and the tension ramps up as the sort of the finishing line becomes nearer, do you want a little bit more continuity in personnel so that you can rely on that muscle memory of those partnerships and those relationships across the field in those high pressure moments?
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly at centre back and in the centre midfield, like our best central midfield pairing is probably Alex Robertson and Ryan Wintle. And if you ask most Cardiff fans, I think they would say the best 2 centre-backs out of the 4 as a partnership is Will Fish and Dylan Lawler. And that was the partnership where we just did, at the start of the season, we just didn't concede a goal from open, from open play. I think it was for like 9 games at the very start. And look, I think he's done a great job of keeping all 4 of those centre-backs happy, because all 4 of those centre-backs would expect to start. So it's very difficult to keep 4 centre-backs happy when you only play 2. And I think he's done a good job of that. But I think now coming into the run-in, I would like to see probably more often than not Dylan Lawler and Will Fish, because I think they just give you the best combination. Although I wouldn't be shocked to see Osho or Chambers play against Lincoln, just for that little bit of experience. But I'd be interested in what he goes with that game, because we've been very good at home. So
it's interesting though, because I don't know if maybe you can tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think of Osho or Chambers as like big meaty dominant centre halves. Like Chambers is one of those versatile defenders who could do a job at right back or right of a 3, or could play in midfield. He's got that versatility about him. And I think Osho, I would suggest, has been schooled in a similar mould to that, in the one that you'd possibly play him alongside your big dominant centre half. So I can definitely see your point about wanting Will Fish in there. But I can also see, I don't really think you have that natural holding midfielder, and I think Ryan Wintle is that, and so for me it'd be a no-brainer to have Ryan Wintle and Will Fish in that 11.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like the one thing which Osho probably does give us, which the others maybe don't, is a little bit more recovery pace.
Right, yeah.
Like I think I said in the summer about Karen Chambers, I was quite shocked he stayed, because he was very poor for us last year. However, what I've loved about him this year is at the start of the season, he wasn't in the team. He had a 19-year-old Dylan Lawler and a 22-year-old Will Fish starting in front of him for the first, I think, few games. And he didn't throw his toys out the pram. He didn't, he's the highest paid player at the club. He didn't sort of, he's the club captain as well, wasn't being selected. And he didn't sort of cause an issue. He just got his head down. And then when he came back into the side, was the best. He's played the best football, probably up to Plymouth, the best football that he's played in a Cardiff City shirt for the whole time he's been here. So you've got to give him credit. I just think Dylan Lawler and Will Fish offer more all around, both of them.
So what about you, Colin, Jake, in terms of when you've played Cardiff City, what have you made of them as League One's leaders?
Yeah, listen, it doesn't surprise me that they're the top of the league, because like when we played them, it was it very much felt like a championship match. Like I think about that game quite often when I see kind of Cardiff's results in terms of the way in which that game kind of panned out. The only difference between us and Cardiff is that they've been far more consistent in terms of turning draws into wins. So we've just drawn far too many games. So yeah, they've got a lot of quality at the side, haven't they? And obviously, like I said before, like as each passing week continues, like them young lads are getting more and more experience, aren't they? And that's only going to help them in the running. But obviously, when they get promoted back to the Championship.
Yeah, I've been a massive fan of Cardiff. I've spoke to Si a lot, certainly in the last couple of weeks, about obviously about the game next week, which feels like absolutely huge. But I remember we had this last chat actually, and I spoke about, well, me and Col actually spoke about how we felt that you could get at Cardiff. I feel like in the last couple of weeks, bar Saturday last week, I feel like they've shut that down a little bit. I think a couple of teams have maybe tried to come at Cardiff, but they've just picked them off with ease. I mean, they've got the quality. I mean, they're on the run that were on before without Salek, who I think is the best striker in the league. They've played a lot recently without Reuben Colwill as well. He's obviously been injured for a long time, but Joel, his brother, stepped up massively in the last couple of weeks, couple of really big goals. And I feel like teams have seen what Bolton have done against them, have seen what we've done against them, and Bradford and teams that have beaten them, and they've just gone, right, let's just try and get at them. Let's press at them. Let's try and force mistakes, because when you do press teams, certainly in League One, they can be, the League One footballers, right? They are prone to make a mistake playing out from the back. It's not going to be perfect every single time, but I feel like Cardiff have got they've got the confidence and the ability, now that they've been under Brian Barry Murphy for a long time, to just zip it past them. I think that's what they've done in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I think they come up against a very different obstacle to what they faced, a two-man centre forward line of Talai and Ben Pebble on Saturday. I don't think there's another centre forward partnership in the league that ask you the same sort of questions as those two do. So I can't blame Cardiff for not winning that one, because Plymouth played a completely different way to what they have been.
You almost need to go to a 3, don't you, when you face 2 physical strikers like that? You sort of need that insurance.
Yeah, and I have been really impressed. They are just so consistent, alongside ourselves. They get the job done, and even against teams that come and sit in a low block, they just purr at it and they zip it side to side. They knacker teams out, and they end up scoring winning goals. So yeah, I've got a huge amount of respect for Cardiff. I think ultimately they will get promoted. They'll be one of the top 2. Whether they win the league or not, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I've got massive admiration for what they're doing there.
A quick question for you, Si. Obviously, you've got to Doncaster at the weekends, and Don obviously actually not doing all right. I think they won 3 out of the last 5, and after the result against Plymouth, do you think that might affect the young lads, or do you think they'll just react and get back on the train, so to speak?
I think a lot of the younger lads were on the bench against Plymouth, or some of them certainly, and I think what is really going to help us coming into the Doncaster and Lincoln game is you've got Isaac Davis is back after his concussion, which I haven't been on the show. Probably best that I wasn't on the show after that game, actually. The Ruben Colwell's probably. I think it's not inconceivable that we could start the Lincoln game with a bench of Salic, Ruben Colwell, and
brilliant.
That's what I mean. Like we're getting players back at the right time. And the other thing, just on the Doncaster game, because I don't want to look past Doncaster, because I'm actually a big fan of Grant McCann. Yeah, he was one of the few managers this year who came to our place and said, "We're just going to play football, and if they beat us, they beat us. But we're going to go play football." And we started so well against them. And it
you won't be getting that against Lincoln. Don't worry about that side. They won't play football. Jesus Christ!
Oh, you had success. You got to Europe with Big Samble. Don't now be
no. Listen, yeah, I get that, but yeah,
he's trying to get a rise out of me, Gav. Don't
rise to him, Jake.
I apologise for interrupting, Si.
No,
I'm just warning you that you don't be looking forward to a good football match against.
Don't worry, Si. He's upset that they've struggled to get 2 points against Little Lincoln this year. So
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Don't pay any attention to this geezer.
No. I think with Doncaster, they will, even especially at home, they'll try and play football, and I think that will suit us. I think the one thing which Cardiff potentially have an issue with is physicality, depending on the side they pick, and I think that's why you've seen the likes of Osho and Chambers and some others come in away from home over that sort of post-Christmas period. But I also think what Barry Murphy's done really well is he's kind of kept all the younger players fresh. And I've got a feeling that he might kind of start reintegrating them back into the starting 11, probably from Saturday, because I do think he'll make some adjustments from the weekend, because defensively we were a shambles. But yeah, we just got some players coming back. So I wouldn't say I'm confident, because being a Cardiff fan, the wheels can come off real quick for a whole variety of reasons. So I would never say that I'm confident, but I look at the fixtures and I look at Bolton's last 6, and I think if Cardiff and Lincoln just win their home games, it's going to be very difficult for anyone, or certainly for Bolton and Stockport. It's going to be difficult to catch them, if we're honest.
All I would say is when Chewy was at Plymouth, he won 11 out of his last 12 games.
Yeah.
So
I just look at your last 6, and I just think if you win all 6 of them, you've done very well, and you probably deserve to go up. Do you know what I mean? Because it's such a hard run when the pressure's on. And I think that's ultimately the thing. I think about the Lincoln and the Cardiff game a week Saturday. Ultimately, it'll probably come down to who deals with the pressure of it, because it will, regardless of what happens this weekend, that game will feel like a title decider, but it's probably not, because there's only a couple of points between us. So even if Lincoln beat us, it's still close enough that you can catch them, or vice versa. So it's one of them, and the fans probably build it up more than what it actually means in terms of the mathematics of it all.
Absolutely. Si, thanks so much for your insights, and keep up the great work on Cardiff City World.
Thank you, mate. Always a pleasure, guys. I'll see you.
Cheers, Si. See you soon.
I'll see you soon, Jake.
Yeah, see you soon, mate. Can't wait.
See you later.
So, Jake, talk to us about that 2-0 win at Mansfield. You're 10 points clear. You must be thrilled with the position you're in at the moment. Are you getting carried away?
No, definitely not. Yeah, it was good. No, it was good. It was because we were probably was in the 16-game run that we've had. It was probably the worst we've played, I thought, but we still run away comfortable winners. There were a lot of factors to that that I thought as to why we weren't quite as good as a blistering that we have been. Obviously, away from home is always
no Erne.
One came off the bench. The real worry that I have at the minute a little bit is that Fred Draper he went off against Northampton and he was not in the squad on Saturday, and I don't think he's going to play on Saturday against Blackpool either. And it's really important that we have a big physical number 9 because, like Cole said, we get the ball forward quite quickly. Freddie Draper is absolutely pivotal to keeping the ball in that final third, so that Rico Hackett, so that Jack Moylan and Rob Street can all run off him and cause problems.
Well, can I raise a point on that, Jake? Sorry to interrupt you in your flow, but I'm wondering, you had Ben Ice on the left at Mansfield and Rob Street down the line. I think for the way that you play, I'd probably rather have Housey down the middle and Street sort of coming into goal-scoring areas that way.
Yeah, I can see that. But to be in Rob's defence, to his absolute credit, he obviously scored the penalty on Saturday. He led the line really well. He went up against some big centre halves for Mansfield and won a lot of flick-ons. Didn't hold the ball up anywhere as well, and that was noticeable. I also think another factor for why we perhaps weren't great on Saturday. I don't know if you've been to Mansfield recently, Cole, but the pitch there is absolutely horrific. Like the ball, we're trying to play the ball out and play it on the floor because now that we've got a couple more technically gifted players, we like to not just go fully route one. We realise that, with Rob Street up front, it wasn't maybe going to work. So we tried to find Moylan in the pockets. We tried to find Ivan Varfolomei tried to get on the ball and spray it around. But the pitch just slowed the ball down massively. You could see the ball was getting caught in the mud quite a lot.
Well, they do that to try and make it a bit of a level, don't they, as well?
Yeah,
ultimately.
Yeah,
can't blame them, can you, really?
It's an uneven surface.
Yeah, well, yeah, good, yeah, it's a good point. It's the second bad one I've noticed, Carl. You've got to tolerate it if you come on this podcast.
Yeah, you've been reading too many of them books behind you, Gab.
Yeah. It's a shame there's not a comedy one. He could learn a thing or two, really. It was probably Lincoln at 6 out of 10, but I would say that if you're 6 out of 10 and win 2-0 away from home in this league, you're a pretty decent side because. It's not to refer to Bolton because Cole was here, but you played quite well against Reading, I thought. You didn't take your chances.
Yeah.
I think Bolton were probably like maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10 against Reading, but they didn't take the chances. Reading took the one chance and scored and got in front, and Bolton were then chasing the game. So I think your good teams, your real good teams, go and don't play amazing away from home and pick something up. But it's always nice to beat Mansfield. It's a bit of an added extra, beating them lot obviously with the local ties as well. So yeah, it was good, and looking forward to Blackpool now at the week, and obviously they'll be quite buoyant after a decent point at Bolton.
They were actually all right against us, Blackpool. To be fair,
they were
all right.
They were against us when we went to Bloomfield in December. We were 2-0 up in about 20 minutes, but they came back and roared back, and they got good players, right? I mean, admittedly, it helped that Jack Bonham lay one on the plate with George Honeyman, but they've got good players like Ashley Fletcher. I know he missed right at the last minute, but
Blackpool he played very well.
Yeah, they're going to come.
They're a good side.
They're going to come and give us problems, but
they're a better side than where they are in the league anyway, and you can tell they've had a lot of injuries. Put it that way.
Yeah, and they're going to offer us a different threat. But the thing that I like about this Lincoln team, Gab, is that we have played all sorts of teams and we have won all sorts of ways. We've come from behind to win. We score in front, we get pegged back, and then we go and win again. So I feel like, bear in mind, this is Blackpool, who are the second worst team on the road all season, and we're like the third or second best home team in the league. It looks a banana skin, but I would feel comfortable trying to get 3 points on Saturday.
Would you bring Ryan Erne back into the 11? Because I'm not sure it's a huge coincidence that the performance level dropped very significantly from the one against Northampton to the one at Mansfield when Erne got dropped to the bench. For me, I'd be looking at bringing him for Housey or Rico Hackett, and because I think it's not just his pace, Jake, but it's like his touches are amazing. It's like some of those back heels and those flicks he can play, and his movement's really good. I think he really complements. I think he really complements the rest of the team.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited to see what Ryan can do between for the last 13 games of the season. He's going to be a massive asset. I know you and Charlie were talking about him as one of the highest potential players in the league. So. Yeah, look, he's got a good future ahead of him, and he's impacting the team now. He scored twice in like maybe 80 minutes of football. Well, maybe he started against Northampton. Maybe 100 minutes of football. He scored twice now. So
116 minutes he's played.
And he's come. He scored against Northampton. Both really good finishes, and that one against Plymouth as well. So
I did say to you then I was chatting to a Sheffield United fan on the way down to Wimbledon, and he was waxing lyrical about him. Yeah,
and he's good as a 9, and he's good out wide, and he's versatile. And in the system which we play, it's really important for him to do so.
Because that's the big thing, isn't it? Like Jack Moylan is playing as a 10 on paper, but he pops that wide quite a lot. And you play forward. You're quite happy to play forwards out wide, so that there is a lot of flexibility.
It's goal threat all over the pitch, isn't it? It's having, if a half chance falls in the box. The way that Lincoln have tried to play this year is have as many strikers on the pitch as possible, so that if a half chance falls, you back Freddie Draper, you back Rob Street, you back Ryan Erne to at least make the goalkeeper work, or if not, put it in. In recent weeks, they all have been contributing. So,
and that's why I think Lincoln again are obviously them points ahead of us, because what we've not done this season is shared out our goals well enough across the team. I think we were discussing it on our pod on Sunday. There was obviously a reliance early doors on Mario and Mason Burstow, who obviously got off to a bit of a flyer.
It was those two, and then a massive drop off, isn't it, Carl?
Yeah, they obviously dropped off a little bit. Certainly, Mason Burstow did. I mean, he's got back on the goal scoring run recently. I think he scored a couple. I think he's up to like 10 now for the season, which is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, there was a reliance upon them too, and I think as a result of that, kind of it did affect kind of our output, and that's obviously why I think we're 20th or something, or 19th in the table in terms of goals scored, just ahead of.
You're not going to get top 2 with that, are you?
Something like ridiculous. I might be wrong with that, but there and thereabout, we're pretty poor in terms of the amount of goals scored this season compared to like Lincoln, so that'll be the reason why.
Yeah. Well, we will revisit.
Go on, Gav.
Sorry, Jake. I wanted to come back to you, Jake, just to round off on Lincoln. I'm intrigued to hear what you're about to come on to as well. But what's on my mind is Tom Hamer and how he sort of reinvented himself as a centre half.
Oh my God, Tom Hamer! Like the bloke's just he's so good. He puts his head on absolutely anything and everything. And I think he's maybe one of the most underrated players in the entire league. He's so pivotal to the way that we play. When he plays next to Sonny, he's got to have a little bit of recovery pace about him as well. And he's so assured on the ball. He heads everything. He comes with the extra caveat of the long throw, which we've utilised as a weapon all season. Just Tom Hamer. If you were asking me now for my player of the season, Tom Hamer would most certainly be in my top 3.
Oh, wow. Okay, that actually surprises me a little bit. Okay,
just so consistent, and he's played pretty much every game he's been available for.
Yeah.
Adam Jackson got injured in like October, and Tom Hamer just hasn't looked back. So yeah, Tom's been phenomenal. He's been unbelievable. He, like I say, wins everything. He's got the throw. I think until the other week, I'm pretty sure he was like our top assister because of the long throws. He got a really good assist against Bradford as well from the. For the Ben House goal that we recycled from a long throw, it come back out to him and he clipped it in. It baffles me that Burton, who are where they are now, let a player like Tom Hamer go for so cheap. Like we didn't have to pay anything for him.
Well, I think it's because he was a fullback that maybe wasn't offering loads in the attacking half. So sort of he maybe felt a bit more disposable, whereas actually he's playing way better as a centre half. So so clearly that career transition has definitely worked for him. Do you think Lincoln get top 2, Jake?
God, I can feel the eyes on me. I can feel the eyes. Yeah. I feel like we get top 2. I feel like we get promoted this year.
He's a believer for the first time. That's the first time I've heard him say it, that he believes.
Yeah, the gap, obviously, at 10 points at the minute to Bolton, and I think it's 12 to Stockport and 10 also to Bradford at this minute in time. I feel like part of my confidence comes from the fact that all 3 of them are quite inconsistent, mainly away from home. Bolton have...
We've not lost in 9 games, to be fair, Jake.
Yeah, but you've also only won 4.
We've drawn too many. That's our problem.
Yeah. You've won 4 games from 17 away from home.
Yeah.
I think I'm not too concerned about Bolton at this minute in time. I'm not saying that might not change. Bradford away from home, I'm not particularly keen on. I think the performance on Saturday sort of accompanied that. And then Stockport, I watched them on Tuesday. I thought they were really poor. But also, like, we've got 6 home games, and look at the home games that we've got. Bar the Stockport one, they're all quite favourable. I think we've got Rotherham, Wimbledon, Orient, Wickham, Stockport, and there's one more that I can't think of right now. Blackpool, obviously, on Saturday.
Yeah,
if we win 5 of those and get another 15 points on the board, that puts us on 83 points.
Yeah.
You're then asking Bolton, what are you on, Cole? 58. You're asking Bolton to go and get 25 points from 12 games, and that's by winning your home games and not even getting a point on the road. So I feel pretty confident that one of the teams from below us are not going to go on a run good enough to match us, because we need to pick up like maybe 16, 17 points, I think, to get promoted.
Yeah,
I feel like Bolton...
I think the best that we can hope for, I know you said you're going to come back to us, but the best that we can hope for is that it goes to the final weekends. That's like the best case scenario, really, looking at it. Like, because I don't think it's
going to weekend. Lincoln go to Port Vale, who could be relegated.
A lot of the teams that we play towards the back end of the season, their seasons are going to be over. Well, I think we go to Port Vale, could be relegated. Wickham, their season, by the time we get round to then, likely going to be finished. Stevenage, the same. Wimbledon should be comfortably safe. You know, we're not playing many teams. Leighton Orient, yes, they maybe have something to play for, but should kind of really be safe. So yeah, I don't know. I feel a lot of above board as well. This group, I've had no reason to doubt this group of players. They have played to an exceptionally high level for the last 2.5-3 months. We've got the experience. Why would they all of a sudden drop the form like a ton of bricks?
It's really funny though, because obviously talking about the fixtures towards the end of the season, obviously alluding to an extent the fact that we've got a difficult run in. I don't think looking at that top 6, with the exception of maybe Huddersfield, I don't think it's going to change much. I think it'll be a close shot.
Yeah, I don't think Bradford, for instance, like there's a 10-point gap. We've talked about 10-point gaps between the top 2 and 3rd. I don't think Bradford or Stockport are going to drop out of the top 6.
It's the same. I suppose it's the same logic. Then,
it's exactly what I'm getting at. Yeah. So like we're talking about our fixtures towards the end of the season being difficult.
Yeah.
The chances are everyone's season's going to be over by then anyway, and we're obviously waiting for the playoffs. So
yeah, if we look at
both ways, really.
Fixtures, it's teams. So we can go at team by team. We are coming on to Bolton officially now. Exeter away mid-table, Wickham home, quite a fair way off the playoffs. Rotherham away, they're just awful unless they've changed manager or something by that point. Doncaster at home, Doncaster could be in a comfortable position. Port Vale could be as good as down, depending. Stevenage, I don't think they're going to be in the playoff conversation. Plymouth Argyle are going to be safe, and then you get to Stockport, Cardiff, Huddersfield, and then Bradford.
But what's the date of that Stockport game?
Gav? The date of the Stockport game is the Easter Monday, 6th of April.
See, that's what I'm saying. By that point, you probably think that top 6 is sewn up.
Yeah, exactly. So actually going to Bradford could be preparing for the playoffs. Maybe Huddersfield as well, depending on their form. Stockport. So
you don't want to go into the tops. You don't want to go into the playoffs in awful form. I mean, we did.
No, but it's different. It's different playing a team that's fighting to get into the playoffs as opposed to comfortably in the playoffs and managing.
Both teams will. Whoever you're playing in the top 6 at that time, everyone will want to go in with some sort of momentum. You don't want to be the team that fall into the playoffs having your final 5 games. So you've won one, I agree, drawn 2, lost 2.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Jake, but there's degrees of motivation, I would say. I think, if you're really fighting for a particular outcome, I think that's a little bit different. So I think it's probably better for Bolton to have the tough fixtures, in the second half of the last 12 games rather than the first half.
Obviously, of course, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So I wanted to come to you, Cole, in terms of finding that goal-scoring form, which is going to be so crucial. What do you think? Any tweaks that you think need to be made? Any personnel to change?
Yeah.
How do you read it?
Yeah. We spoke about this actually on Sunday on our podcast, and I think as good as Shuey is at this level in terms of a manager, and as good of a managerial career he will have, and hopefully it's with us for a good number of years. Sorry, and he has had so far.
Yeah.
I do think sometimes that he does probably respect the opposition a little bit too much. Okay. An example of that was against Blackpool at the weekend, where we started Kyle Dempsey, Sheehan, and Erahan as a 3. Granted, granted Dempsey was a little bit more advanced and he wasn't kind of deeper in the central midfield role, but it did very much feel like 3 centre midfielders playing at home against Blackpool, 20 seconds. Was the creativeness from the exactly that, yeah. And after the game, Shuey kind of came out and said the reason for that is Blackpool had X player who we were a little bit concerned about, and I was a little bit like, well, I'm not being funny, you've got a real opportunity to go and steamroll this side, and why we're worrying too much about Blackpool's so-called threats when you've got a plethora of options that you could come up with from the players that we've got at our disposal. So I do think that we should probably think more about kind of us as opposed to worrying about the opposition a little bit too much. And that's a tweet that we could make in my mind. Listen, Sam Dalby is absolutely on fire. He's been a menace for weeks in terms of kind of dominating centre half, scoring goals. He doesn't lose his spot. Rob Apter is slowly starting to contribute, in my opinion, he's getting match fit. Same goes for Blackett-Taylor on the left. Thierry Gale came off the bench and obviously got an assist as well at the weekend. Amario's due back. Sorry?
Yeah, it's interesting though, because the 4 players that you've named, Amario, like you mentioned, due back, I would consider them as wide players, and I would think Blackett-Taylor is, a speed merchant. Apter's a really good dribbler. You've got Gale, I would think of him as a wide option as well. And I suppose if I look at the bench that you had, and this might be actually a personnel availability question mark in terms of squad building, have you got somebody who could be that spark, that player to create between the lines, and offer something different to maybe the wide players that you've got?
Well, I was going to actually ask you this question. Actually, can maybe I think flip it around a little bit, because I know that Rob Apter played obviously very well for Blackpool last season, and I know he did play off the right, similar to how he's playing for us now. But in my mind, I can see him also as a bit of a 10 as well.
Okay.
When Amario comes back in the next few weeks, do you think that could be an option for us to play Apter a little bit more centrally?
Maybe.
I think so. I definitely think he's got the technical ability, because that's what he's good at, right? In terms of dribbling and taking players on.
Yeah.
I do also feel like he's better when he can knock the ball past the defender and then run past them. So whether you get that in the middle of the pitch where it's way more tightly congested. I don't know. I don't know if I'd play. I think he could, but I don't think he'd yield any better results maybe than playing someone else there. Personally,
I see Apter as a 1v1 wizard. Like, I think he's got brilliant agility. So I think he's great at taking opponent on and knocking the ball past, but then stopping the ball and having that sort of explosive burst and then almost decelerating. And he's got that ability about him to go either way. And I think that's probably best out wide. So, yeah, I do like having Ethan Arahan, I think. Is a really good midfielder as Jake. Sorry to bring it up, Jake.
But mate, pack it in. Like, come on. Jesus.
Sorry to bring it up.
What I would say though, to answer your original question, obviously we've got Ruben Rodriguez to come back as well. Like, I say come back, he's
way
fit.
Better.
Like, to just
way
like
better.
He's a traditional 10, I think.
Yeah. I think with Rob Apter as well, Cole. To take it back to context, and when I've seen Rob Apter this year, which was the other week. The reason why I thought he was quite poor in that game was because he was being marked by Adam Reach, but very quickly you had either one of our midfielders pretty much come over and help Adam Reach straight away, or Sonny Bradley. They basically doubled up on him a little bit, and
that's one way
he was quite ineffective. I think he had one sort of half chance on the half volley, didn't he?
He actually should have scored from that opportunity, even being overly critical, or at least hit the target. On the back post, I think it was, weren't it? If I remember.
But in terms of actual his performance throughout the game, I thought it was quite poor because he got man, and that's when you play more centrally, when there's more numbers around you. I think that situation happens way more. When he, like Gab said, he's way better when he isolates a fullback and just has him one-on-one and goes, right, I know I'm going past you. Whereas when there's bear in mind when you play in the 10, you're facing up to two centre backs. You've probably also got at least one holding midfielder that's going to come from behind. You know, it's a tough.
I think the obvious choice is obviously Ruben Rodriguez, isn't it? I guess who obviously they want him getting in that role.
I think he could make a difference. You know, just offering something different, that spark maybe.
I also think that Shuey likes tends to be kind of 9.5s as well. Like, obviously McAtee in recent week has contributed pretty well to playing off like Sam Dalby, because obviously Dalby manages to occupy kind of two centre halves as well, which obviously frees up a little bit of space.
Cole?
Yeah, he's only out for a couple of weeks. He got a bit of a niggle, but yeah, he's out for a couple of weeks. So
that's going to make a difference. Yeah. So do you feel, Cole? Do you have any confidence that Bolton can put a run together and challenge Lincoln and Cardiff?
Not really, no. If I'm honest with you, I just don't think we've been consistent enough all season. Like I said, I think we need a big win from somewhere, and then to go on a bit of a run of really good victories to kind of allow us to get a bit of confidence. But then again, it can all change quickly because it only takes a couple of defeats for one of the two teams above us, and we win a couple of games, and then the gap's closed again on it. And you know, you can analyze it as much as you want, but that end of the day, it's football, and anything can happen, can't it? Like, obviously, Donny for Cardiff at the weekend. If it was a hell of a defeat that against Plymouth, and there's nothing to suggest that they can't drop points away at Doncaster, which is
sure.
You know, they'll be up for it, won't they? Obviously, a big side coming to their place and whatever else. So we just got to look after ourselves, basically.
Yeah, you probably need a bit of encouragement from the top two to the tapping points.
Exactly, and look after ourselves, our own kind of results, and whatever will be really.
I feel like I start singing now.
Well, get used to it because he'll be going to Wembley, won't you, Cole?
Honestly,
very good.
It's not only just a financial thing; it's just going there again. Like, I'm like, oh god, my record's terrible at Wembley personally as well. It's awful.
Me and Napples will make sure we're sat in the Bolton end, Cole, don't worry.
You're not coming in our end if you go up and we have to go to Wembley. I'll tell you that now.
I think if Bolton don't go up, we should get Cole wearing a Lincoln City shirt. It's punishment enough for his messages on our groups.
Agreed.
We don't have any bets at the start of the season, did we? So that's not going to happen either, Gap, unfortunately.
Okay. My next and final guest is Russ from the Scarf Bagara War podcast and website on Stockport County. Russ, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Do you see a sliver of hope for Stockport County in the automatic promotion race, or has that been diminished after the no-show at Burton in midweek?
The fire and Tanto's extinguisher have just been put out completely, I think. Yeah, I don't think we're in the running. Just listening to Cole, then we're probably on the same sort of wavelength, really. I mean, let's face it. All season, we've not stuffed anybody, to put it bluntly, and we've sort of clunked our way to fifth, which I've said all along has been a bit remarkable. I remember coming onto here before Christmas saying, we've got a transfer window, and once the injuries come back, we're probably going to be all right. And I see us like really challenging. Well, that's not happened. We had a really good transfer window. They've not really settled in that well, and it's not really sort of took off for us. We've lost 2 in the last 8. That's not bad, but the manner in which we lost and the manner in which we're winning is not good enough, and we're just not consistent enough. So, and like Cole said, unless it changes dramatically, which I can't see it. I mean, and again, just to quote Cole, you've stolen on with thunder. It's a funny old game, innit? And it could just change, but I just can't see it. I think we're going to be just stumbling and clunking our way to the playoffs, and then probably see how we go in the lottery of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's likely. To what extent do you think that Stockport's distance from the top 2 is down to maybe not finding that ideal midfield partner for Ollie Norwood? Because I always look at him as the playmaker, the guy you want to build your midfield around, and I've maybe just not seen that. You don't have that Norwood, and it feels like it's Norwood. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, I know. I think you're spot on, absolutely spot on, and that's where teams are finding us out as well. So if they press us and they've got bodies in midfield, you've pretty much done it for yourselves. So that's what teams are coming and doing. Yeah, you're right. Norwood, he's not had a settled partner. You're right. It was meant to be Lewis Bate, but obviously he was injured at the start of the season. Didn't kick a ball till New Year. Camp's got injured. He's out for the season now. He'd have been okay. Bailey's come in and done a decent job. He's been okay, but he's not meant to be in a 2-man midfield with the likes of Ollie Norwood. And then you've had Osborne, who's come in on loan, and he's just a bit, again, probably go back to that word, clunky. The midfield's been a bit clunky, and that sort of resonated through the team. I'd probably say the reason why we're winning games is because we've got quality like Norwood and Wootton. Yeah. And then they're holding Hills at the back as well. We've had a right torrid time with the goalkeepers. Yeah. Thought that I'd get solved in the transfer window, but I can understand why not, to be fair. But yeah, that's probably a problem area for us as well. So yeah, it's just a bit, I don't know, it just feels a bit, look, we're off the back of a 3-0 defeat away at Burton, and they've not done too bad against the top teams, to be fair, but it just seems a bit like it's all going to end in like staying in League One, which is not the objective at the start of the season.
It does sound very much like our season, but I think our season seems to be a little bit more positive, Russ, from what I'm picking up off here. But it does sound awfully familiar, like clunky. When you expect to trounce teams, you're not doing. Yeah, it does sound also familiar. I got to admit. Yeah,
There's some questions. I mean, we spoke on our podcast last night. There's some questions that are being asked. Is Charlie's job safe? I think 98% of fans say it is. Is it the players to blame? Probably, yeah. You know, they're the ones doing the business on the pitch. The other interesting one is, have we got entitled fans? Now, you might roll your eyes at that, because we are Stockport County, but the club set the expectation of going up this season. So, and this 7-year plan to get to the Championship, which we're in it's year 7 next season. So it's going to be tight, and I wouldn't say entitled. We're just, if they set expectations, and they don't meet them, then you're going to be disappointed, and that's probably where my pessimism comes through and my disappointment comes through, because if they said it and they don't achieve it, then we should be disappointed, shouldn't we?
Sure. Yeah, I suppose there is going to be a generation of fans now that have only known success at Stockport County and great performances, and there probably is a realism that you can't always have things all your own way. And by the way, 5th in League One, you'd have taken that back in 2010, wouldn't you? Yeah,
100%.
Exactly. But I think I wanted to ask you about one of the positives, which is the attacking combination between Jack Diamond, Carl Wootton, and Isaac Oliofe, because I think especially in that 2-1 win at Blackpool, where it could have been a 5-0, you really felt like some of those players linked up really well. And you've probably not built on that as you'd have liked, but I do see a dynamic there where that trio can be very dangerous.
Yeah, it can be. I think it's got potential to be, and it has been in the past, certainly with Wootton and Olafi in seasons gone by, and he is only on loan. So, and it's funny you should mention the Blackpool match, because that's one of the 2 matches that I mentioned last night on my pod to say they're the 2 where we saw glimpses of what we can actually do. And even with Blackpool, we could have been 3 or 4-0 up. We only won it 2-1, despite the really, really good play. So there is that. But yeah, coming back to your point, there is potential there, definitely. Wootton's definitely, he's probably going to stay. Tance will go back. I've no doubt about that. I can't see him staying. And he's not done anything since he came. And it's probably down to his first match that he played for us. He came back and they handed out inflatable extinguishers. There was Free From Desire coming over the tannoy as they came out. And it's like, we've just got him back on loan. What are you doing? It's not... what about all the other players? We've got, Sidibe had been there. That was his home debut. Why are you doing that? So it was all, I think they've misfired massively on that. Not saying that's played into him playing poorly, but he's really not done much for us. I guess our last hope.
Tanto's misfired.
Yeah, Tanto's misfired. Your defense isn't terrified. Yeah. The only hope we've got with those 3, you're right. That Diamond sort of flatters to deceive sometimes. Great dribbler, but his end product leaves a lot to be desired. So yeah, you've got those 3. Our only last hope really is that at some point we're still in the touching distance of the top 2, and then Louis Barry comes in because we've got him on loan, and that he somehow does something. That's the only thing I can see. Really.
That signing was a bit like. I looked at it. Obviously, he's a wonderful footballer, especially for this level. Let's be honest with you. Obviously, what he did for you last season, everything else. But I looked at it and thought, he's only going to be back like March. He hasn't kicked a ball for it. He seems to be pinning a lot on that transfer. I thought you could have done better than that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
from a recruitment
maybe.
perspective.
I don't know if there's many out there better than him that fits our club, really. I think
if he's not playing, he's injured. He's not with.
I suppose. Yeah. You make a good point.
Yeah, I suppose the question though, Cole, would be whether you'd rather have Lou Barry in the running or not. I would rather have Lou Barry in my team because I think at Stockport he's proven to be.
Well, could Stockport not have recruited somebody? Could they not have recruited somebody, given how good they've been at recruitment over the last couple of years, to someone that's maybe not the same level or a game winner as Lou Barry, but someone that's.
That's a better way of putting what I've just said. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Let me frame it another way then. I don't think we needed him. I think it's once we got Tanto in, we had our front 3 and we've got the players around him, and I think we would have settled for that. But Louis Barry became available, and I think it's a risk for us. It's an olive branch, really. We'll trust you. You know us. You can come and train with us. We'll get you back, and we'll get you and we'll give you the final games of the season. If you make an impact, great. It'll get a buzz around the club, that kind of thing, which it has done, to be fair, as did the Tanto signing. But I think that's more. I think that's more what it is. It's more signing him as a let's call it a luxury signing, should we say? We already had our squad there that was going to see us in the season. Barry became available, and they made it happen for other reasons.
I guess that probably makes you think that if it was me anyway, like if I were a Stockport fan, I'd probably be thinking, well, that's kind of like the hierarchy and the management, like saying that we're going to be giving it all for the playoffs here. Like we're kind of like the top 2 out of reach, because obviously by that time he will be fitter. And obviously he'll be contributing in terms of similar, I guess, to where we're going to be with the Mario. Obviously he's going to be probably back for the last kind of the running of the season. And yeah, I guess in that, do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, playoffs maybe they're expecting or thinking that if there's a final push to get second, then he'd add to that as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
If we get into the playoffs, he adds to that, and if we have to play extra because of the playoffs, he adds to that. To be honest, I think it's a moot point, to be honest, because I don't think we're playing that well enough to trouble the top two anyway. So I think he'll come back. I think he'll come back. He'll play a few matches. Yeah, he'll be good. Hopefully, he'll be good. And we'll get in the playoffs. And as I said before, we'll probably end up failing in the playoffs. And then who knows? He might sign for us, because I think his stock is reducing, and I think it's probably around the level that we can. Because I think our owner Mark Stott, he does get a bit emotional when it comes to players. So he insisted that Ben Hinchliffe we signed him on a deal because he was going to be let go. And I think it's the same with Louis Barry. He pulled out all the stops to get him because he likes him as a player. So
yeah,
I think that's more along what it is.
Makes a lot of sense. Russ, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insights from Stockport County. Cole, likewise from the Fan Zone podcast, and Jake Tong from Here for the Lincoln. Looks from our conversation like there's a pretty good opportunity for Cardiff City and Lincoln City to grab those top two berths going into the last quarter of the season. Thanks so much everyone for watching. Subscribe to us on YouTube and on Spotify, and consider the membership option if you can or if you'd like to, and we'll see you again for another League One podcast next week.
Cheers, Gab.